All right, guys, welcome to episode 9 of Chasing Mastery. Today I got Brock Rice on. Brock, thanks for coming
What's
on today.
up, brother? Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Of course.
If you guys have seen the podcast before, you know I go through the questions from Tribe of Mentors from Tim Ferriss's book, and then we're going to throw a few more in there specifically for Brock being in the media game rather than being in real estate. So let's just knock some of these out real quick because we're on a
Because we're chasing mastery. That's
yes,
what
sir.
we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Do you have a book or books that you've gifted most, or just 1 to 3 books that have been really influential in your life?
Not a big reader, big passive consumer, honestly. So I'd say big podcast guy. I would highly encourage people to listen to probably the Game podcast
The Game?
with Alex Hormozzi. He's one of the most articulate business leaders I think that's out there right now, as far as just giving you actionable steps to kind of systemize your business and put yourself in a good position there. And then I'd say, honestly, the book I'd say is $100 Million Leads by Hormozzi. I'm actually not sure if that's out yet, so I don't know if that's available. But yeah, I just think anything he's written is really high level, to be honest. But yeah, man, I'm not a big reader for the most part.
Gotcha.
Mostly
Podcasts
passive.
work too, because
Yeah.
honestly, like I just listen to books
Yeah,
most of the time.
me too.
I'm not a huge like sit down read a book.
Me
kinda
too,
guy.
100%. And I just try to fit it into my schedule better. I just get so damn tired when I read. I just go
Yeah.
straight to bed. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
hear you
I'd say
there.
passive. I'd say
Nice.
passive content for sure.
Sweet. And then do you have a purchase of $100 or less that has greatly improved your life in the past 6 months or year or two?
$100 or less purchase that's greatly affected my life.
I know you just picked up that tripod.
Yeah, new tripods. Shit, that was about $10,000 in gear though. So that's not. I mean, that tripod wasn't bad actually, but a lot of new gear. Shoot, I'd say. I don't know. I'd probably have to say some of the AI platforms that I've paid less than $100 for a month, I guess. But man, AI is just really gonna change everything.
Oh,
to be
yeah.
honest, I think it's exceptionally scaling my business right now. But I'd say it's just probably more tech platform stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite AI that you've used so far?
Honestly, I just think the Chat GPT production is just out of control. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's about what you feed it. So I think by being someone like in the position I'm in, if you can give it the right structure and prompt the right things out of it, it can be just enormously beneficial. But yeah, man, I'd say that for the most part has been one of the most beneficial platforms. And then just, all the things I use within my media company, like, from graphic design perspective or, anything like that that's helping our systems. There's some pretty valuable platforms.
Nice. Do you have a failure or apparent failure that had set you up for later success, or any kind of favorite failure that you've had?
Good questions. Man, the deep answer would probably be more so oriented around like when I was pretty young in business, like getting started in the media space. I don't think I fully understood the value of over delivering, and my thing was always like I was able to work with some of the big dogs and like being able to get those contracts and get people to trust me and do business. But I think definitely early on I was more focused on, how can I get fed? How can I get paid here? Or how could I make, the biggest margins in this contract to be able to keep the most money?
Yeah.
Where I just think that's completely the wrong mindset now. For me, it's more about, if I can get a contract, I probably don't make any money on the first contract. It's about trying to get as much value to the client as I can and being able to add the most I can add to their brand or to their marketing structure. Or my biggest thing now is probably consulting and being able to build out like some of the infrastructure that's needed to be successful online. So, I think it's more so looking along those lines as far as like some of my early failures were not understanding, what a person really needs and kind of putting myself first rather than putting the client first. So over the last 3 or 4 years, that's changed dramatically. And I think that completely changed my business.
Nice. I love that. That's a great answer. If you had a billboard, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions of people,
Yeah.
what would you put on that billboard? Or do you have like a motto that you live your life by?
I'd say, shoot, that is a tough one, to be honest. I would say something about, probably being authentic to yourself and trust in the process a little bit more. I think if anybody's like I am, like I was always like so hungry to get the next stuff and to get the next stage of business and to get the accolades or the notoriety, or whatever it is. Like I think we're always kind of chasing the next step as far as like success goes. And so I think, it's more oriented around like focusing on what's really valuable now and, what you have to appreciate now. And I think that just changes everything. I mean, it goes back to like one of the most important foundational concepts, which is just being present, and like actually being in the moment. Cause, even something like this is a good example. Like I could be sitting here thinking about 50 things I got to do right now, go manage clients, go make sure the one office is good, all the different things. And it's like, at the end of the day, like that just really pulls you away from being able to show up where you're at. And at the end of the day, like changing that mindset for me changed so many things because it just like built better relationships. It was better for me in business than whatever I needed to focus on. I was really focused on, so I don't know, man. I if I could make it simple, I'd say be present, literally. Like wherever you're at, be there, whatever that means. And I think that the amount of ROI you'll get from that, just from life in general, is crazy, honestly.
Yeah. I think your quality of life is going to go up tremendously the more you can be present.
100% agree.
If you're stuck in the future, that's anxiety. If you're stuck in the past, that's depression.
100%. You're exactly right, actually. That's one of the things I talked to, like, because I had a lot of coaching clients for a long time where, like, people were asking me to consult for them, but then do, like, coaching, basically. And, like, it was, like, it ended up being, like, life coaching. And it would always come down to that. It was, like people attach these feelings to these different emotions where you're focused on the past or you're focused on the future. And I mean, you literally hit the nail on the head. That's what I would say to them is like those two emotions are attached to those ideas of like thinking about something in the future and you can be anxious. You know what I mean? But like, what does that change for you?
Yeah,
you have no control of that. It helps nothing. You know what I mean? And if you're present and you're dealing with it, then you can just figure out a plan and a system to solve that problem. And like you said, if you're thinking about the past, then it's something depressing, then for what? You can't change anything about it.
Just go through a loop in your head for hours 100%. And hours and hours. Like, no.
100%. And I honestly, like, if you want to be better in business, understand the depths of psychology. Like, because it is your psychological brain that controls all these different decisions you're making. It controls the way you see the world. It controls a lot of these different things. So it's like, I would say that's probably the biggest jump a person can make is focusing on those things, like your 100%. Own mental fortitude.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will have a worse life because they're being more present.
Right. I 100% agree.
Awesome. So what is one of the most worthwhile investments you've ever made of either time, money, or energy?
I would say probably the wisest thing I've heard along these lines, back to kind of guy I brought up earlier, Alex, one of my favorite guys right now in the space. He talks about investing into the SME 500 instead of the S&P 500. And I think it's just fucking spot on. Like at the beginning of your growth journey, it should be focused on what can I invest into to grow more knowledge? You know what I mean? Like what can I do to get into a better spot to be able to deliver more value to the marketplace? And so it's like when you're looking at it from that perspective, like, here's a great example. Like over the last 6 months, you've been learning so much about the media space, about the videography space, about the content creation space, and if you look at it, it's like, okay, from where you started to now, you've learned so much. It is very easy to get to that place where now you are sufficient. You're doing things at a high level, but you could get comfortable there. Yeah. You know what I mean? You could easily plateau easily, and then your content stays at that level and your production stays at that level and your understanding of systems stays at that level. But okay, if you get to that stage and you're like, okay, well, let's keep going. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let's pay a coach. Let's pay somebody to teach me, hey, come sit, guys like me, hey, sit down with me. I want to pay you. I do this all the time. This is probably one of the best things I've done. And this is a great example. If you came to me and you're like, hey, Brock, I want to pay you $2,500 to sit down with me for 5 hours and teach me systems and teach me the things you do for your clients and teach me these things, two things will happen. One, I'll do it for you. And the amount of value you'll learn from those situations is ridiculous. It's years and years of knowledge that you learn, and it takes one click for you to be like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And now you go land a client worth $5,000 instead of $10,000 or instead of $2,000, and it changes everything. And the money you pay to coach is paid for tenfold right there because of the lifetime value of knowledge. But
You can cut that learning curve, that
100%.
hockey stick. Instead of taking 2 years to learn, you can learn it in 6 months.
100%.
And then boom, you're off to the races.
100%. And so that paired with the other side of it, which is like, we're a good example, is like if you come to a person like that and you're like, hey, look, I'm in the space, I'm trying to learn, 9 times out of 10, unless it's somebody that's really trying to get up on the financial side, like somebody like me, I'm just gonna be like, bro, keep your money. I respect the hustle. Let me teach you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm happy to teach you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's a pretty important way to see things, is like the amount of market opportunity out there is unbelievable if you go get it. You know what I mean? If you go look for it and you go search it out. And so that would be probably the biggest thing. I forget, honestly, what the question was, but it'd be seeking out stuff like that.
Biggest investment of time, money, and energy. But yeah, that's awesome.
Invest into yourself. And if you're an entrepreneur, invest into yourself. Like, figure out how to pay for knowledge. Figure out how to, and that's the other part. Like, if you're fucking broke, there's so many things accessible now. Like, I'll be honest, I dropped out from college. I haven't had a real business coach. I haven't invested enough money. Like, I'm sitting here preaching this stuff to you, but like, I haven't even paid a significant amount of money. I paid money, but not like I've got guys who pay 50, 100, 150 grand a year just into coaching and just into building that side of things. I did everything through free stuff, you know what I mean? Through free content, through free, and just getting out there and scraping YouTube, scraping coaching platforms, going through them and trying to learn. And a lot of that information is free.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It just takes time to sift through the garbage to find the gold.
100%.
Versus you pay a coach, they'll just like, here's the gold.
You're right. You're exactly right. And it's just like, yeah, exactly. That's spot on, man. That couldn't even be more valid. Like, that is the value of paying somebody that's been through it, is they'll just tell you, look, here's the 5 hurdles. Here's what you got to look out for here. Here's the best thing I did here. Here's the most valuable thing you could do here. And boom. And then all of a sudden you're in a
shooting
totally
yourself in the foot here and here. You're good to go.
You're exactly right.
Nice.
You're exactly right.
What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing you love? This is just kind of like a for fun question.
As far as like in my life, like things
just
I always do. I don't know. I don't have a ton of like hobbies or anything. I lift. Like I work and I work out. That's it.
Do you do anything unusual with your workouts compared to maybe the average person?
I mean, I'm a savage. I work out way harder than a lot of people, but no, it's honestly just consistency. I use the fitness space to fuel my business. And I'd say like I'm really into biohacking, so it's like sauna, cold plunge therapy, like a lot of biohacking stuff.
Do you have a specific diet or anything that you follow? Or
I mean, I'm structured on my intermittent fasting schedule. Like, that's been, I mean, there's a lot of neuroscience behind not only what it does for your brain, but the longevity of your body, like anti-aging. It's incredibly powerful. Energy, it's crazy powerful. You know, it's funny. I don't do cold showers and shit. I think there's actually not a lot of science to back the value of it. I think that there's a ton of science, quote unquote, that supports the fact that it's powerful for you to do those kind of things, just for you to be consistent on something you set your mind to. So I think it is valuable, but I mean, like, it's not the same as a cold plunge, I'll tell you that much. Like, get into a cold plunge tub for 3 minutes and tell me how you feel. But yeah, that stuff is all important. And to be honest, man, I think more so than anything, like I will say, outside of a cold plunge and a sauna, like those things, you get a biological response from those. But outside of those, man, there's not a lot of stuff that's more valuable than just what it does for your mind. Like, just setting intention and following through and being disciplined. Like, I was just kind of talking about this the other day, was like, just understanding the philosophy. And I honestly, it's pretty deep. I related it back to school. Like, I dropped out from university and I was not a great high school employee, and I did not go to a lot of school. I was not a good student, but I was smart. Like, I was getting good grades, and I just wasn't going to a lot of things. Like, they sent me my attendance report. It was like 23% of classes attended. It was ridiculous. But what I was saying in this video was like, what people need to understand, especially younger kids, is like, with school, if you can understand and train yourself to be high level at the discipline of following through with the things you start, or whatever assignment it is, just like fucking do it. Like, I wish I would have thought about this back then. Like, figure out how to get through it, do it, complete it to the best of your ability, learn, grow. It really doesn't even matter what the tangible learning is on the table. It's about being able to follow through on what you set your mind to, about what you teach, about what you're starting. Like when you're in that position, that's what you take over into the workforce, like into the work world, into this marketplace now. It's like, do you have the ability to finish what you say you're going to finish? Like, and that is a learned skill. Like if
Yeah.
you're starting entrepreneurs right now, it's like a fucking plague. Like
Yeah.
everybody wants to start something new every other day. Everybody wants to like has what we call shiny object syndrome. Like, oh, that looks fun. You know, I want to start doing that, or
Yeah.
that
Do it
would
for
be
2 months and then they
100%.
set it down and never
And
touch it
most people
again.
do that all the time. So I would say if you could think about that in coming up or figuring things out, like, and even if you're an entrepreneur, like if you're starting something and you're like, hey, maybe I should do something else here, or like, don't get me wrong, it's cool to be diverse and have different things you're into or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
but I'm telling you right now, the most successful people hyper focus on what they do well and they just double, triple down on it, like over and over and over, you
Yeah.
know?
They don't allow anything else to distract them.
No. And they just create their systems and they know what they're good at. And like, you know, I was like listening to this thing the other day and it's like an investment conference and this guy was asking, you know, like, I don't feel like I'm diverse enough in my portfolio. Like I'm 80% real estate and I feel like I should be diversified into these other places. And the guy asked him, he's like, I think it might have even been Warren. And he was like, he was asking him, you know, where's your knowledge base at? If you had to tell me what percentage of your knowledge is in real estate, what would it be? He's like, oh, probably 90% of my knowledge is real estate. And he was like, well, then it's a perfect allocation for you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a great representation of what you know. And so at the end of the day, I think on that side of things, like that flip of the coin, it's like, do what you do well.
Yeah.
Like, double down on what you know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that'll put you in a lot better position than then trying to guess in industries you don't know about.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think diversification is for once you've made it.
I
quote
agree.
unquote.
Wealth management is a lot
It's
better
like,
way to look
okay,
at
well,
it.
I have $1 billion. You might not
Right.
want all that $1 billion in one city.
You're right.
So, but you
100%.
can still have it in real estate across the country.
Yeah, 100%. You're not wrong. And I think when you get to a better place like that, you have the whole game changes when you're on a level like that. Even into the multi-million-dollar category, you're starting to get into a place where you got financial managers, you got a team of financial institutions behind you. Like, it's a totally different game when you're at that level.
Yeah, so true. So in the past year, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
I think the most valuable thing that's shifted in my life is understanding the value of people. And like, I've always been like a hard nosed, just go, you know, I'm on a mission type of guy. And it's good. I mean, it's led to like a lot of success and cool shit. But like at the end of the day, like I'm getting so much more value out of sacrificing some things to have better relationships with people. And like, I was just talking to a very, very wealthy guy, and he was just kind of talking to me about something that reminded me about one of the most important things I've learned, which is just the world is small. Like, it is hard to grasp if you're not in this mindset yet, but like, relationships are important and the world is small. Like, you can't imagine how small, like, especially the minute you start stepping up into the next world of business. And so the really important thing I think to take away from that, which my dad was always on me about forever, and I think it's been really valuable, is like, treat people really good and then add as much value to these relationships as you can. So then you get in a position where it's like everybody looks at you as like, of course I want that guy around. Like, he makes my life better. He's doing everything he can do to help me win. I want to help him win. And if you understand the power of reciprocity, like, it is one of the most valuable things a person can understand. Like, if you're out there and you're not in a hungry position where you're trying to take, it's like, put yourself in a position where you're looking to help people, where you're actually trying to add value to somebody. Because then when they look at you, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, damn straight. That is a guy I want to help out. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, if you're trying to build anything real, you're going to want people like that in your corner. And that, to be honest with you, that my 2 cents is that's what I've done exceptionally well, is take care of people that are now taking care of me, and it's been valuable, to say the least.
Love it. That's great. What advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world? And then what advice should they ignore? It could just be high school or two.
Yeah, I would say two different things. If it's a college person getting out of college, I'd say hopefully you didn't pay too much. Because that I think is one of the ultimate scams right now is just the college and the collegiate world as far as just like the way it's structured and the
Yeah.
value you get. Like, I mean, fuck, come over here and try to pay me 50 grand a year to teach you, and I'll teach you a lot more shit. You know what I mean?
A lot more
And
real world stuff.
yeah, and I think the flip side of that coin, like I try to talk to like younger crowds about this, is like, don't get it twisted. Like, if you can figure out how to get into college and make it relatively free, cost free for you, and you just get to go have the experience and meet people and learn lessons and like just go through life, do it because it's fucking fun. And at the other side, it is not that fun. Like when you come into the workforce and you're in the workplace, like you're figuring all this shit out, you're thrown to the wolves. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're young, don't be too pressed on trying to get out of the situation you're in. Like, enjoy it. Trust me, I'm a first class testament to that. Like, I was playing high level college basketball, and then because I was so eager to be an entrepreneur and shit, I dropped out and I was just done. I left school, I was done. But it was fun. Like, looking back, I was like, damn, life was pretty good. I was like partying, having a good time, like playing basketball, lifting, like life was pretty easy.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to want to rush yourself out of a situation like that. And my best advice is don't. Like, enjoy it, look around, smell the roses a little bit, you know, figure out where you want to go, position yourself better, come into it with a really good mindset of like, oh, okay, I see the game. This is where I want to go.
Yeah, bringing it back to being present when you're in the situation.
100%, man. It's a key because you end up living. I'm lucky because I'm just not wired this way. And I'm also like, you know, I made things happen. But if you don't, then you're looking back, you're like, oh, shit. Like, I kind of regret that decision, or I should have done that different, you know? So, and living with regret is like the last thing you want to do. You know, at the end of the day, that's like one of the most toxic things I think you could suffer from is dealing with that.
It's like mental poison.
Yeah, it's mental poison. And then that's the other thing, like, you know, this was a lesson I got early is like, that's why you treat people the right way and you don't create issues with people and you don't fucking do people wrong or whatever, because the mental tax that comes with is you can't put a price on it. Like, it will cost you so much fucking money if you don't treat people the right way, trust me. Yeah. So it's like, I've just seen guys suffer from that, and I'm lucky that I've done a pretty good job at that. I wish there was things I would have done younger, a little bit different, people that like treated me wrong or did me wrong, and then I was like, well, fuck them, I'll do you wrong, like, I'll show you, you know what I mean? And I just wish I would have handled some things different, but for the most part, I handled them right. And I saw people kind of suffer from that. So, but yeah, man, to the youngest people like that want advice, I'd say go try a fuck ton of things. Like, go try as many things as you want to try and get a taste of different industries, get a taste of different services, get a taste of different things that like excite you, of different things. Like, that's what's cool about this new era of making money is like you can monetize just about anything. So it's like figure out what you actually enjoy, because fuck, trust me, when it comes down to it, you're going to need to have a pretty good tank for some fuel to keep going when you want to build something real. So it better be something you actually enjoy.
Yeah, I think Jim Carrey put it great. He was like, you can fail at something that you hate doing, so you might as well try doing what you love.
100%. That's a great take, honestly. That is so valid. And it's true. It's like, and it just makes life better, man. Like, I'll be honest, the best take I probably got for you is like, I've seen and been around, especially my Miami office, like I've been around some of the people with the most money in the fucking world. Nothing changes. Like, it doesn't make you happier. It brings up $1 million issues. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, it's like you can go chase a bag and you can go do all these things you want to do if it's about money to you. But then you get there and you're like, oh shit, like I sacrificed a lot of things. Like, I should have shown up for all these people, or I let go of my family for this, or I let go of this for that. Like, and it's just not worth it. So it's like, on that same coin, it's like, figure out what you actually care about. Like, if you're in a position right now where you're kind of sitting in limbo, it's like, make a list, write down what you value, write down what makes you feel alive, make it clear to yourself, like, what matters to you. And then design your fucking work life around that. Like, that is one of the things that I set course on when I was 16, that I would never work for anybody. The only reason I cared about not working for anybody, which I wouldn't say that's the right way to go for people, like setting that mindset, because the amount of shit you can learn from high-level people. Like, if I was 16 again, I'd be like, dude, you're an idiot. Go show these older guys. Because, like, I made money and shit, but I could have made the same amount of money going and trying to work for a really high level guy and be like, hey, whatever you need, I got you. I'll figure it out, whatever you need. And the amount of shit I would have learned from a high level executive would have been unmatched. You know what I mean? So
could have been worth millions.
100%. And so it's not to say that there's not, you know, different ways to do it. But at the end of the day, that would be my 2 cents is I kind of forgot where I went with that TED Talk right there. But
you're good.
But yeah, at the end of the day,
these rants, they make the podcast way better.
yeah. I just say that's the key. It's like figure out, you know, what your deal is, monetize off of it, go get experience in different fields, and then figure out what you love. Because like this view of time everybody has is off. Like you could be fucking 25 years old and just have done a bunch of shit. And if you figure out what you really love, think about it. Now you got 70 more years to lock in on that. And then, like, if you do start something without trying to taste a bunch of different things, it's the same mindset I have on, like, relationships. If, like, a person gets into a relationship and they've got all these other thoughts about, like, oh, what if I would have went and traveled? What if I would have went and just been free and been myself and met different people and figured out what I like? And it's, in my opinion, why the divorce rate is so high.
Yeah.
Just because people don't take time to evaluate, like, what they actually value. They don't take time to look at, like, what they want in a partner. You know what I mean? And that same thing goes with business. It's like, figure out what you actually like. Figure out what you want to build. Figure out what matters to you. So then when you go build that thing and it gets really hard, you have enough fuel to be like, no, I can push through and get to the next level. Because if there's anything that is true in business, it doesn't take a special person to build a big business. It takes somebody that is willing to persevere through the shit that gets hard. Because that is it. It is not like, it's not that big of a complex issue. It's just, do you have the determination to get through the shit when everybody else will quit? That's it.
There's always going to be another hurdle. Can you just make 100%. It over before everyone else quits out?
Yep, 100%. If you don't quit, you will not lose. I'll tell you that much.
Love it. All right. Do you hear any bad recommendations in your area of expertise?
Oh, yeah. 100%. A lot of them. I'd say the number one bad recommendation is just like producing content at scale is not always the right answer. Like everybody just sees like different businesses and different brands building content and doing the things we do, but not all content is good content. You know what I mean? Like everybody thinks that they need to build a brand by just building a bunch of content because they see other people doing it, when that is not the case. My best last 2 cents along those lines is like, especially in the social media ecosystem, like these platforms are built for 2 reasons. They're built to be validators for your customer or your prospect. Like they're positioned so that when somebody goes to do an audit of who you are in the marketplace, they go to your profile, because what does somebody do now in 2023 when they're trying to check who you are? They go to your socials. So it's A, built to be a validator, and then B, especially for like agents, but any brand, like if you understand branding or marketing in 2023, like I think somebody just did another publication that said like in 2023, it takes 25 plus interactions or impressions for somebody to take action on your product or service. So it's like, okay, well, what is a brand really effective for? You go build an audience so you can market for free. Once you build that audience, you go build content to build value and equity into that marketplace. And then when you go to make your ask, they've had positive interactions with you over and over and over and over again, so they know you're a guy that they can trust. And the other key is front of mind awareness, like especially for agents, like when somebody, it doesn't matter if they see your content and right then and there, they're like, oh, I want to buy or sell with them. That doesn't happen. It's about having front of mind awareness so that that video that they saw yesterday, when they decide to sell today, you're the guy they think of. You know what I mean? So I think people are viewing the digital space completely wrong, to be honest. And I think when it gets broken down and somebody hears what we're talking about now and they're like, oh my God, that makes sense. Like that makes way more sense. Then they're ready to move to the next level of doing the kind of stuff that I do, because it's like, okay, I understand that it's not just a few videos. It's about the systems. It's about the structure. It's about optimizing your digital, like your platforms online. Like all those things are really important when it comes down to like being an effective brand in the digital ecosystem. And so I think there's a lot to it, but that's the main stuff.
Nice. We'll be right back, taking a quick break so we can reset the cameras.
Let's party.
All right. Yeah, that was gold, dude. That was all. I feel like a lot of agents and just business people in general, like they treat social media as I posted this video or I did this one thing. And then well, I didn't get any clients out of it. It's like, this is a long, long, long game.
Yeah, they completely misunderstand the space if they think that's the key. It's like it's the most active marketplace in the game. It allows you to put branded content in front of consumers at scale. You build an audience and you're able to market for free. You want to create front of mind awareness. I mean, if you want to get down the marketing ladder, I could tee off on that. But then at the end of the day, it's not only about that. You then have to have quality systems and quality infrastructure to make sure it's sustainable, it's scalable, and then you're actually going to get conversions on traffic. So it's funny because that's what I specialize in. It's like, and I tell everybody this, I'm like, you can go find a kid that can shoot some shitty videos and put them out on your Instagram. That's fine. Like, content quality might not be there first and foremost, but then it's all the other stuff that makes like what I do valuable and what makes my company valuable to a lot of these big guys is like
all the back end stuff,
all the back end stuff, creating the quality systems, making sure they understand how to regulate and flow traffic, like creating value propositions. These are all things that like take a brand to exponential heights and allow you to actually convert on things. You know what I mean? So I think it's pretty important to think about. But yeah, that kind of infrastructure is important when you're looking at a brand at scale.
Nice. So in the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to?
I've become better at saying no to offers. Like everybody makes an offer to, hey, you should do this with me. You should help me with this. You should do this. And I'm bad at it still, to be honest. Like I still get opportunities where I'm like, oh, that would be cool. Like when in reality, I know that the best thing you could do is shut all that out and hyper focus on what you're focused on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That is the most important thing. But
yeah, not let people steal your time away.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, man, I'd say that's the biggest thing is like, not allowing people to take you off of what you know you need to be doing because that little thing that somebody offers you to do is just going to pull away from what matters. And ultimately, it might make you a little bit of money or something, but at the end of the day, it's like if you would have compounded that onto what you're trying to do over here,
yeah,
you get way better results, you know?
Yeah, and you're not learning in your same area or field, or maybe you are, but it's, with a difficult client.
100%.
Like, it's not worth it.
100%. Spot on.
Love it. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do, and what questions do you ask yourself?
Ooh, that is a great question, bro. If you're like me, listen, because this was my biggest crutch for a long time. Is like I get like, I call it, I don't know if this is a term, but I call it like ramped anxiety, where all of a sudden I just get like super anxious or like it's like detrimental to me where I just can't think about anything else. I can't focus on anything else. And the best thing I learned hands down is breath work. Like we learn it in Wim Hof and you can do it through like biohacking and stuff like that. But like people don't understand it's the key to all your spiritual growth. It's the key to what we talked about earlier, being present, but like power breathing. And I have some techniques and stuff. If you need it, go over to my Instagram and brockbrands.eth. I'll send you it. But yeah, it's a pretty powerful system, and I think that it's one of the most important things you can implement into your life to be able to just be in control of your emotions. But yeah, breath work, that's my biggest thing.
Love it. All right, and then a few quick ones. I know you got to get out of here in a second. Did you have a best hire or a worst hire when you were bringing people
on? Best hire, it's tough. I think I'll just categorize them. Best hire is somebody that's hungry and somebody that is coachable and somebody that maybe has some of the skill sets but wants to grow. And worst hire is somebody that isn't smarter than me, doesn't understand something better than me. That's usually the worst hire because it's like I'm trying to bring you into a system that I know works and I'm trying to bring you in for a reason to perform a certain task. If I'm going to be sitting there coaching you, like it's going to be pretty tough. Like unless you're going to fucking provide in some other ways, like, hey, like maybe this guy doesn't have the understanding of some of the things I do in the space, but he's going to work really hard and he's going to show me in these ways that he's accessible and he's going to show me like, hey, I'm going to scratch your back here so you scratch mine there. That's different. That's like, okay, great. Then you're coachable. You're somebody that I can invest into, somebody that, and then loyalty is the biggest thing. I try to pay attention to what guys are loyal because in this business world, you can get guys that'll flake out on you or try to steal a client and think they're getting a fucking win over here when it ends up costing them tens of millions of dollars. Because if they would have just been loyal to the right guy for 5 years, that $2,000 contract is nothing compared to when, he's in a crazy spot and you're his guy. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest mistake people make is greed and just trying to cut people out when they shouldn't.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have any questions for the audience or anything that you would like final closing thoughts?
No, I just think I would relate it to your title of the podcast, like chasing mastery. Like I think it's powerful, but I think it's deep to think about like what are you chasing? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like we've all got these things we're chasing and we've all got these ideas of things we want, but I think it comes more down to like thinking about like what matters to you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And chasing mastery, like there is no such thing. Like it's so true because I kind of like the title for that reason. Like mastery isn't real. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's impossible to master everything, but if you're committed to chasing it, like
Mhm.
it's one of the most powerful things you can do because there's just endless things you can learn. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at that thing as a whole, it's like, hey, how do you find something that really matters to you and then commit to that. So I think that's important, thinking about
Yep.
what matters to you.
I love it. You hit the nail on the head, dude. I appreciate you coming on the
Thanks, brother.
podcast.
I
That's
appreciate you,
great.
doggy.